I'm Dr. Joseph M.T., Department of Sociology, University of Mumbai. We are looking at the E-Pathshala project, Religion and Society. This is Module 8. In Module 8, we look at the Indian Church. Now, what we mean by the Indian Church is Christianity in India. Because church is a word that stands for a building, and it also stands for the community. So in this module, we look at the Indian Church, Indian Christianity, and the ways it is diverse, and in the ways it can be understood sociologically. Now, it is claimed that Christianity came to India in the 1st century Common Era itself. The claim is that one of the disciples of Jesus came to southern India and established 7 Christian communities. Now, there is no way in which it can be historically proved at this point in time. But it is a proven fact that this is a tradition. And it is also a proven fact historically that when the first of the Europeans arrived in South India, they have witnessed, and they have written down accounts of meeting Christians there. Also, there is a historical record about a group of people coming from Syria to South India and settling as Christians. Now, both of these are traditions which talk about a very early origin of Christian communities in India. Now, later, the number of Christians in India in that sense increased after the coming of the Europeans, beginning with the Portuguese, the Dutch, the British, and the others. As we know that the project of colonialism was also accompanied by the project of the missionary endeavor, whereby the Christian missionaries from the Western European nations sought to spread Christianity to the far corners of the world. Now, this Christian missionary endeavor in India actually resulted in the conversion of communities and peoples in different parts of India to Christianity, especially the Dalit and the tribal communities in many parts of India. And therefore, if you look at the Indian Christianity today, it is very, very diverse. It is diverse. First, we have what we call the St. Thomas Christians, who are also called Syrian Christians, who trace their origin to St. Thomas, a disciple of Jesus, as I said earlier. And then they also trace their allegiance or their kind of connection to Syria or to the Eastern Church, as it is called, rather than Western Church, which was centered in Rome. The Eastern Church was centered in Antioch. And to this day, many of these denominations, as we can call, or churches as that we can call, which are actually generally referred to as Syrian Christians, they follow their traditional practices, which is a combination of local and Eastern Syrian kind of practices. So that is on the one side. Then on the other side, there are different Christian communities in different parts of India who trace their conversion to different missionaries as persons, or different missionary communities who trace their origin from different nationalities in the West. And therefore, there is a way in which Christianity, the Christian character, is there, as well as the national character of these original missionaries have had an imprint on these communities as well. And then we have the Protestant Catholic divide, and we have also the new churches, the Pentecostal churches, and the house churches, as it were, that is flourishing in India today, just as it is flourishing in different parts of the world. So it's a very diverse picture. So when we talk about the church in India or Christianity in India, we need to look at this diversity. This diversity, though it is a minuscule minority in terms of the percentage of population that it consists of, this diversity is something that is fabulous. And this diversity is something that most others are not aware of. At the same time, in this module, we also look at how Christianity and Christian communities are negotiating or are entrenched in very specific cultural location, especially in terms of caste. Now, caste as an Indian phenomenon, as an Indian way of life, in some sense has a Christian kind of a kind of implication as well. And this module will look at the way that caste is entrenched in Christian community just as it is entrenched among the Hindus. And this is what exactly we are looking at in this module. So this module has the following points. We look at the origin of Christianity in India, spread of Christianity in India, origin and description of church in general, understanding church structure and its functions, architecture of Indian church, caste system and the church, and important churches in India. So we begin with claims about the origin of Christianity in India. It is said that Christianity in India is more of an Eastern origin than popularly understood as having a Western European origin. The history of the church in India traces its roots to the apostolic times. Apostolic times in the sense that in the time of Jesus, its founder. It is to the Apostle Thomas that the Indian Christians trace the origin of their church since his visit to India in AD 52. Now we have a couple of pictures of Saint Thomas the Apostle here. And then there has been an Orthodox Syrian Christians prior to 1500 AD, Roman Catholic after 1500 AD, Evangelicals or Protestants after 1700 AD, and Pentecostals since 1900 AD in India. The European Christians came to India since 1498. That is, 1498 is the year Vasco da Gama landed in India, and consequent to that, Europeans have been coming to India of different Christian churches and denominations. Saint Francis Xavier landed in Goa in May 1542. Jesuits were the important carriers of Christian influence across India. The two German missionaries Bartholomeus Ziegenbalg and Heinrich Plotschau established an evangelical or Lutheran congregation. At present, we have the Orthodox Syrian Church in two branches, the Independent Syrian Church of Malabar, the Marthoma Church, the Malankara Syrian Rite Catholic Church, the Chaldean Church of the East, and the St. Thomas Evangelical Church or factions thereof, segments of Church Missionary Society within the Church of South India. General origin and description of the church. According to early Christian literature, the word church meant an assembly and not a building as such. It was only after the conversion of Emperor Constantine in the 4th century AD that regular buildings for public worship became safe for Christians, prior to which Christianity was a persecuted religion. It is also important to know that the need for building churches arose mainly out of the religious obligation for Christians to keep the Sabbath. With reference to worship, the real object of worship is most of the churches is of the Eucharist or the host, wherein Christ is believed to be living under the appearance of bread and wine, particularly those denominations that believe in the Holy Communion. Due to their Hindu background and environments, the early Indian Christians are assumed to have developed their church life on the pattern of Indian temple life. Now, structure and functions of the church. On the national or denominational level, the church defines itself as a spiritual fellowship holding a common faith and ideals. Whereas on the local level, the local church is characteristically a congregating group, frequently coming together for direct face-to-face relationships. This church is invariably a smaller unit of a diocese. Every church as a parish has a resident parish priest, with bigger parishes having either an assistant priest or in some cases a team of assistant priests in addition. The main duty of the priest is to cater to the spiritual needs of the parishioners. The parish priest with his duties and functions plays a vital role in the community. Architecture of churches in India. The church in India was designed in the pattern of temple architecture due to enormous influence of the local culture. With European churches came the basilican style, which also underwent changes with the following rise of Islam. However, during the British period, various colonial forms of European and American styles in church building and architecture came into practice, besides some purely Indian styles were also adopted. When Portuguese ventured to Kerala, they introduced many innovations in the Syrian churches. Now we have two kind of pictures of church architecture in India. One is the Church of Bom Jesus in Old Goa, which is a monument under the Archaeological Society of India, and then you have St. Paul's Cathedral in Calcutta. Both are in Western Gothic style. Now we go to another topic, which is the caste system and the church. Now this is a topic that is much discussed in among the different religious groups in India, majority or minority or any other. Now caste identities are very much active even after generations of conversions. Various missionaries of different denominations and congregations have worked in directions to tackle or accommodate this issue of caste. The impact of these caste identities was so significant that it showed its ramifications even in the sitting arrangement within the church. In an overall attempt to build a new identity by replacing and transcending the old caste identities, the church almost inadvertently created new social organizations, including rituals and customs that bore remarkable similarities to the old ones they replaced. Now we go to the next topic, which is important denominations in churches in India. On the basis of denominations, churches can be divided into Catholic or Roman churches, churches of non-Catholic Eastern rites, Thomas or Syrian, and Protestant evangelical and evangelical churches. There are deep-rooted differences in viewpoints between the Protestants and the Catholics, whereas that between the Catholics and the churches of Eastern rites, the differences are not so intense. Catholic churches. The picture here is of the Church of Our Lady of Health at Velankanni, Tamil Nadu. Catholics are also the largest denomination of Christians in India. The spirit of pilgrimage is a popular element in Catholic worship. There are two main categories here: those who follow the Latin Rite and the Syrians. With reference to the important shrine, St. Thomas Mount, Mylapore, Madras, Chennai is the most important and historic Christian shrine in India. It is the site of the death of Apostle Thomas. In picture is the Church of Our Lady of Health at Tanjore district, also known as the Lourdes of South India, mainly because of the miraculous curing powers attributed to the shrine of the Virgin Mary. Now, churches of non-Catholic Eastern rites. Now, the picture is a 13th century Jacobite church, Chenganur, Kerala. When Rome rose to preeminence in Europe and the Pope became the supreme head of the Catholics, there were two main patriarchs in the East who were not subject to Rome. Certain Syrians who refused the authority of Rome were known as Jacobites. The other separations led to Marthomites and Nestorians. Now we go to the Protestant churches in India. The picture here is of St. Mary's Church in Chennai. With Reformation, the Protestant churches embarked upon a vigorous course of missionary activity throughout the world. Practically all Protestant denominations, Anglicans, Methodists, Baptists, Lutherans, Presbyterians, Mennonites, the Salvation Army, etc. have congregations and churches in India. The agent of Christianity is the church, the community of people who make up the body of believers. There are many different forms of worship, many interpretations of the role of the organized clergy, and many variations in polity and church organization within Christianity. Roman Catholics are organized in an intricate system that spans the structure of the church from the local parish to papacy. Under the central authority of papacy, the Roman Catholic Church is divided into dioceses whose bishops act in the name and authority of the Pope but retain administrative freedom within their individual jurisdictions. Only three distinctive Christian doctrines have achieved definite formulation during the 19th and 20th centuries: the infallibility of the Pope, the Immaculate Conception, and belief in the Virgin Mary. On most major issues of Christian doctrine, Roman Catholicism and Eastern Orthodoxy are largely in agreement, while Protestantism differs from both on several issues. The Mass is the only act of worship that the Roman Catholic Church imposes upon its members. Now, coming to the Indian character of Christianity, we can say that each country or social group presents problems peculiar to itself. In India, one of the problems is created by the widely divided social strata of the people. The caste system is more than social, it is more than economic. It is therefore no small significance that the majority of the converts to the Christian faith have been from the depressed and backward classes. The psychology of the Indian religious consciousness is not easy for the West to appreciate and understand. The imagery with which the thought processes of the Indian people proceed is so different from that of the West. The first movement towards church union in India arose from a suggestion made in 1863 that the various Presbyterian bodies attempt to get together. In 1873, an Indian Presbyterian Confederation was formed, which 2 years later became Presbyterian Alliance of India to meet in council once every 3 years. The first council of the alliance was held in 1877. An expression of Christianity in an Indian garb is seen in the Indian Christian Sadhu movement. Here we witness the attempt to link the Christian life to the yoga ideal. Its most outstanding example is seen in the person of Sadhu Sundar Singh, the Christian Sadhu who is so well known and loved in India because he expresses the religion of Jesus after the Indian ideal of holy life. Conclusion, Module 8. In this module, we have looked at the Indian Church, which means Indian Christianity or Christianity in India, its diversity, its origins, its connection to the missionary enterprise, and in the way that it negotiates caste and caste-like conglomerations and practices. Thank you.